video, I'm going to share with you my experience on where to stay when you arrive in Mexico City. I'm gonna provide you the info and then you guys can decide on where you want to stay when you arrive in Mexico City. So when you Google Maps Mexico City, it's gonna look something like this. I'll bring up my penned up version. So you arrive in Mexico City in the international airport, so I've circled that red here. So the two main zones that I had exposure to that I think are good zones that you can stay in is first Zona Rosa, which is highlighted in pink here, and Centro, which is highlighted in blue here. So on a high level view, the difference between the two zones is in Zona Rosa, which is the one highlighted in pink, it's more modern. It has a new look. You have access to modern type of malls. There's many diverse restaurants here. You can find many Asian and Japanese restaurants in Zona Rosa. They tended to be better quality. They are, based on my experience, they are better quality than the Asian restaurants you would find in Centro. It's also more in Zona Rosa. It's also more concentrated here. It's easier to explore on foot. It has a more hip and vibe, lively nightlife. And there's many Starbucks as well in Zona Rosa that is in close proximity. And then moving on to Centro, compared to Zona Rosa, in Centro you have more historic architecture, a more old Spanish influenced looking style buildings. So you'll find churches and iconic buildings here. There's more parks and public gathering areas. In Centro, it's more dispersed and spread apart compared to Zona Rosa. So you need to do more walking to reach places. And in Centro, there's also lively nightlife, but it's only in certain streets in Centro that will be lively. Some other streets will be like a ghost town. So Centro is more kind of dispersed. Zona Rosa is more concentrated. I stayed in Centro, so if we zoom in on Centro, this is what Centro looks like. I've only had exposure to Zona Rosa by taking an Uber and exploring the area there. However, my stay was in Centro, so I've only had two experiences with two different places when I was in Centro. So first was downtown Beds, which is this red highlighted area here at the top. And then my second stay was in Selina, Mexico downtown, which is the red circle highlighted down here. So between the two places, for downtown Beds, it's in a much nicer location, more clean street. The streets were more clean, a nicer ambience and atmosphere. It's more kind of like a downtown workers kind of vibe. You had quick access. The one thing I liked about, well, there were several things I liked about the downtown Beds location. First, it's a 4-minute walk to one of, I think, the best Starbucks location in Centro. This Starbucks that I highlighted brown here, I think it's Starbucks Madero, but essentially it's a very nice location where you can sit, work. You have reliable Wi-Fi. It was very spacious. It was, I think, it was 2 floors with an outside sitting area, so you had many seating areas to choose from. So spacious, reliable Wi-Fi, a decent place to work. So if you stay in downtown Beds too, it's such an excellent location because you can see here, I've highlighted in blue. So the first one that's close to downtown Beds, which is 2 minutes walk to your right, is Zocalo. So Zocalo is this kind of downtown public space with the CDMX sign, where there's like at night, the lights come up. There's sometimes on weekends there's activities in this area. It's kind of like a downtown public gathering area. And as well as you can see, so also these blue lines highlight like streets that have lively nightlife. So I've highlighted 3 here. So the first one is connected going towards Zocalo. So that's one that is pretty lively at night. The second one, there's also one right beside Selina. So behind Selina, I guess to the right of Selina, there's also a street that has a lot of lively night bars and nightlife, bars, restaurants that you know I've seen a lot of people gather at. And then the third one is near Palacio de Bellas Artes, so Alameda Central Park. This 3rd Street is also very lively and busy at night as well, with restaurants and bars. So downtown Beds is a great location because you're in very close proximity to Zocalo as well as Alameda Central Park. So it's 2 minutes from Zocalo, and it's about, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes between that range. 5 to 10 minutes walk to Alameda Central from downtown Beds. As well, I've also highlighted my favorite restaurant here. I would highlight, if there was one restaurant in Central that I would recommend for you guys to try, is MIAN MIAN. Here, it's a Taiwanese restaurant, so they sell Taiwanese beef noodle soup. The noodles were great texture. I think it was made in house. Broth was not too bad. It was very light. But the dish that I want to highlight here for you guys to try is the cold beef brisket dish. And if you ask for some satay on the side, this dish is amazingly flavorful because together the satay spice, the kick, the citrusy, not citrusy, the acidic from the herbs, the freshness of the herbs combined with the baseness of the meat is just such an excellent dish. It's probably the top 3 dishes I had in Mexico in the 13 or 14 cities that I visited. It's like, even though we're in Mexico, it was a very excellent Taiwanese made and served dish that I would highly recommend. Okay, so moving on to, what else do I need to speak on? Okay, so the next is our comparison to Selina, Mexico City downtown. So for downtown Beds, it was a pretty nice day. I would recommend it there. Between the two, I would prefer downtown Beds because when I stayed at Selina, Mexico, which is the highlighted area down here, the pros is that it's very lively. There's a lot of, it's a younger crowd. There's a lot of people that stay here. But the cons is it's a rowdy type of crowd that stay here. Like it's a type where, for me, based on my stay here, what I saw was like, sometimes I would go into the washrooms, I would see vomit on the floor, you know, from drunk people. The kitchen was disgusting. It was always on the, like, there was never any space, and there was never any space in the kitchen. If there was always, every time I visited the kitchen, there would always be food stacked on the table, and it didn't matter what kind of food that was on the table. It didn't matter if it was rotten food or fresh food or packaged food or processed food. There was always different types of food stacked over each other, and the kitchen felt like there was actually people permanently living at Selina Hostel, and they essentially just made the kitchen their own and just put, you know, food everywhere. Yeah, Selina, the pros, and I guess another con for Selina is down here is more kind of a sketchier, dirtier area of Centro. In the upper area, down where I highlight downtown Beds, this area is kind of more cleaner, more nicer, more well kept. Yeah, while down Selina, Mexico City, down here it's more like much more contrast. It's much more kind of like in the wild. Not in the wild, but it's like, how would I describe it? It's like Bronx, New York, you know? When I mention Bronx, New York, I don't know if you guys, but here it's a more rougher kind of type of atmosphere. Space where you can work. There was always activities going on in Selina, especially on the weekends, because it is like one of the bigger hostels. Selina is a pretty big or a pretty popular common name for hostels across Mexico. So a lot of young people, 20s and 30s, they do stay here. So, it's always lively. There's always people. There's always activities. Here, it's also very spacious. Like I mentioned before, there's 4 to 5 floors. So the lobby has space for you to work and chill. On the first floor is the kitchen, where there's also additional space for you to work. I remember, so the space where people can eat, you can sit there. There's connectors where you can charge either your laptop or your phone. There's also a reading area. Sometimes I would use the reading area if there's no one in there for meetings. And then finally, at the very top, there's also a balcony for where you can gather. On weekends and nights, the Selina workers would serve drinks up in the balcony. If I was to visit Mexico City again, I think I would stay in Zona Rosa. I didn't stay there when I was in Mexico City, but just based on me walking around Zona Rosa, it was a very nice area, more concentrated, more easier to explore on foot. So Zona Rosa is where I would stay if I was to visit Mexico City a second time. However, I kind of did list the pros and cons and the differences of the two zones earlier in the video. So based on your activities and what your interests are, you guys can decide on which zone you would like to visit. So this brings me to the end of the video. If you guys found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like. If you have any recommendations about Mexico City or any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. If you know anyone that might be visiting Mexico City soon, you can consider sharing this video. And if you guys want to stay tuned for future videos that might be useful, consider subscribing. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.